Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today I'm very excited to introduce you to James Dawson from Humble Technologies. James, how are you?
Hey, nice to see you, man. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yes. So listen, great to have you on. We've met numerous times over the last few years.
Yep.
And I've always loved the conversations. I think you're doing a smorgasbord of really interesting things at the moment.
Yeah.
Alongside that, I've always loved the content that you put out, talking about something that's very dear to my heart, sales, and particularly sales in this space. So Humble Technology is dealing and working with your fractional CRO. You're dealing with a number of different sales teams. You're helping bring people, bring things to life in that sales world.
Yep.
Driving performance. There's loads to talk about in this, which is why I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to you coming into the office for a while now. So we're going to dive into all of that and there's lots to talk about within it. Before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So I'm from South Africa, came over here in '97. My first job was across the road for HSBC James Cable.
I read a story about you arriving from South Africa as well.
Yeah, sleeping in parks and stuff. It was pretty rough. I spent 2 years in Paris with HSBC, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I set up a primary government bond business for them, and I sort of launched risk platforms and all sorts of stuff. And then I came back to London working for HSBC front office trading technology. Then I ended up at BrokerTech, and I designed the European products and stuff, and set up the operation for them there. And then that got sold to ICAP in 2005 for like $500 million.
Yeah.
So I ended up at ICAP, and at ICAP I was just having huge amounts of fun launching trading platforms left, right, and centre. Like buying tons of technology.
Good time as well.
It was absolutely amazing. Yeah. We were just like, one of the trading platforms I launched was our credit default swap platform. Went from 0 to 500 million in revenue in like 3.5 years. Huh?
Not bad, the Dawson effect.
Pretty awesome. It wasn't all down to me though. Yeah, and as you see, and then so obviously I was pretty confident, shall we say, when I left ICAP to join OpenFin, and that was my baptism of fire of enterprise sales when I realised, like, Jesus, this is hard.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brutal. Enterprise sales, when you're selling SaaS, it's very different to providing access to data, giving trading platforms to people, the whole 9 yards. The sales cycle
opener, isn't it, to people?
Brutal. The complexity of the sale is messy. You're selling to 10, 15 different people that have different desires. And banks are very difficult to sell to. And so it took me 13 months to do my first deal. Mm-hmm. And I was humbled. I was humbled, but then you get better and better and better, and like I started doing more and more deals with banks, and did a whole bunch, put them on the map. And I enjoyed my time at OpenFin. Great team, strong product guy, Marzi Dar, the CEO, and Chuck Durr, the CTO, like dream team guys to work with.
Yeah.
So I spent 5 years there, and then I went to work with Matt at Adaptive. Now, Matt and I started collaborating when I was at OpenFin, and we started collaborating because I had some software that wasn't easy to visualize and sell, and it was very technical in OpenFin, and he was building trading platforms. So we collaborated and got a demo together, and I was running around and showing his demo to all my clients, and I got him some really big deals, like massive deals, right? As his best sales guy, and I wasn't even looking for him on commission. So Matt and I became friends.
That's how you get yourself a job, isn't it?
Yeah. So then when I left OpenFin, I was just gonna do my own thing, and then Matt said just come and work with us for like 2-3 days a week. So I spent 2.5 years with him, and we did some really nice deals there.
Yeah, that company's just a great story.
Phenomenal. I mean, that's still being a buyer of trading technology for like 10-12 years. I spent $100 million on software when I was at ICAP over that period. And when I saw what Adaptive were doing, and it's just such world class, the team, the people, the technology, everything, it was easy for me to sell that because I just loved it so much, and I believed in it, and I could describe it so well to the business users.
That's a key part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being able to believe in what you're selling at the same time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of salespeople, take roles on because they need a job, as opposed to thinking, right, is this the company that I can really get passionate about?
Correct.
My best work with?
Yep. Yeah. And then it's a route to failure.
Exactly. And so you finish at Adaptive, and then Humble Technologies born?
So I have a hospitality business as well. So it's a hobby of mine. I've got 6 wine bars and 2 restaurants. I import wine from all over the world.
Yeah.
Like about 800 wines from 26 different countries. So I left Adaptive in 2019, and I wanted to spend 2020 focusing on my hospitality business, and I wanted to create my own fintech.
Yeah.
But then COVID happened, shut the hospitality business down, and I was chatting to Matt Barrett from Adaptive and a bunch of other CEOs that I knew globally, and a lot of them wanted me to come and help them to kind of coach their sales teams, help them accelerate sales and all that kind of stuff, because they knew I'd had some success before. And I tried to help a few, and I did a reasonably good job. But I realized that despite the fact that I was a very good sales leader and a good salesperson, like with big enterprise deals and stuff like that, I found it difficult to teach and coach people without a framework. So I took the whole of the rest of 2020, I took out, and I just read every book under the sun on sales, and every podcast, every blog, everything.
Any best ones? Anyone you recommend on that?
So, the big standout one, is the Qualified Sales Leader.
Yeah.
John McMahon.
Yeah.
Right.
That guy. A podcast as well, right?
Yeah, they've got a podcast called The Revenue Builders.
Yeah.
That he does with the guys from Force Management. So, those guys are super, super disciplined and scientific and relentlessly focused on getting deals done.
Yeah.
And John McMahon created this framework called MEDIC with a bunch of other people, of course. Mm-hmm. And when I discovered this framework and I coupled that with all of the theory I'd been learning about value-based selling and how to make your customer successful, right? The modern sales methodologies are not about closing deals. They're not about convincing people to buy stuff they don't want. They're about building relationships through relentlessly showing value for 12 to 24 months and giving your clients massive success by allowing them to use your product to add value to their business.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So you spend tons of time with your clients, you show value. If there's no value to be found, you leave them alone.
Yeah.
But if you can find decent value
Yeah.
in your discovery process, then you do a deal, and then you win, they win, their clients win, everyone's happy. It's a good way to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this sort of world of being now a fractional CRO, of working out your value that you provide, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's all become really valuable to the company, and it's giving you exposure to some amazing businesses as well, right?
Yeah, I've met some amazing companies. So the thing is, if I only work with scale-ups. I help startups pro bono sometimes. I give them free advice and stuff, but I don't typically work with them because they need to have some product market fit, and they need to have some deals in the pipeline, and they need to have a team that wants to go from like 5 to 10 million or 10 to 20 or 20 to 100.
Yeah.
Then I can help them. So the thing with these companies is they're usually created by product or technical people who are brilliant at solving a real big pain point, but they don't understand the commercial side of the business that well, and it's a big point of failure for them, right? So they make a lot of mistakes, hiring the wrong people, scaling the sales team the wrong way, doing big raises off the back of Excel spreadsheet numbers that they have no way to deliver. Right? Like there's some businesses out there that have just raised crazy amounts of money, and then they go and hire 20 or 30 salespeople. And
with no form.
Absolutely fuck it up. There's no way. They don't know who to hire. They don't know how to enable them once they've hired them. They don't know how to manage them. They don't know how to teach them how to do these deals. And it's just an absolute disaster. Right? So when I work with a company, the first month I work with them, I do like a quick sales audit to check what's working, what's not working. What qualification methodologies are they using? What's the sales culture like? Are the salespeople the right people in the right? Is every player in the right position on the field, kind of thing? And then we spend up to 3 months writing a sales playbook. What are we selling? How do we sell? Who do we sell to? What's the value? Get the big value slide. My software costs $500K a year to buy. It's got to deliver at least 5 million worth of value. Find that value, create the value slide, use that for all your messaging, and then use that to hire salespeople that can specifically sell the thing that you're selling. And don't hire big guns at your clients because they can't sell to themselves, and they don't know how to do enterprise software selling, and they don't know how to sell without a big logo behind them and all that kind of stuff.
It's an interesting piece, that, isn't it? You buy so often people are hiring because they see the name on a CV and think they must be a great salesperson, and there's a number of companies which I can mention where you look at that and it's a big name for the CV, but the ability for that to translate that into to a smaller company and have none of the resources is a completely different job. It's not to say it's a bad job on that side,
no,
but it's a different job from where they're going, and people getting that track record of the right salespeople is something which I think is given far too little real thought about what actually we're looking for.
Yeah, you need to think about it very carefully.
Yeah.
So you write your sales playbook, then you go and hire people specifically for that role.
Yeah.
But one or two.
Yeah.
And you test the sales playbook on them.
Yeah.
And coach them. And once they start selling, then you can go and hire a bunch more.
Yeah.
But if the playbook doesn't work on 2, why would you hire 10?
Yeah.
Like, are you playing a numbers game here with your investors' money and just burning it and hoping that 1 or 2 might work out,
which
you'll get lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be lucky. You want to be smart.
Exactly. Smart and lucky, even better.
Yeah.
So look, the beauty of this, and why I wanted to get you in specifically, was to talk about that experience. Speaking to companies there who are nailing it, those who need a little bit more coaching. There's a common set of mistakes, and I think Humble Technology is not just a clever name. There's a humility to you that you've actually made some of these mistakes yourself, which allows you to help other people not make them and navigate them the right sort of way. So let's talk through it. You mentioned it beforehand, and go through a few of the things that I think people need to be thinking about when they are building sales teams in this space.
Yeah.
You mentioned it just now. Sales culture is a really important part of it, and that's the culture of the team, or actually building a sales culture. Full stop. Give us your thoughts there. I mean, it's a book in itself, isn't it?
It is a book in itself. So no one's ever going to hire me to fix culture in their company. So I don't really talk about it I talk about helping them accelerate sales.
Yeah.
But one of the first things I do when I get into any business, I do have a look at the culture.
Yeah.
Is the sales team motivated? Do they love selling? Are they inspired? Are they excited? Is there a winning mindset, right? Are they ringing the bell when the deals come through?
Yeah.
Are they helping each other? Right? And a bad sales culture is a C-suite that's done a big raise and they've got a big target to hit, and then they beat the sales team up to hit that target. But beating someone up or being brutal with them in a sales meeting isn't going to help them sell.
Dragging people to water.
It doesn't help them sell. It just puts them fear. I mean, I've worked with firms in the past where I was interviewing one of the sales guys, and he said to me, look, that Monday morning sales meeting, sometimes before I go to it, I go to the bathroom first and throw up. That's how fucking terrifying it is.
Yeah.
Because I've got the CEO, the product guys, the CFO, and the C-suite. Just like, imagine, the sales team as a cage.
Yeah.
In a cage, a bunch of bears, and then there's guys like stabbing them with spears through it, right?
Yeah.
So that's bad sales culture.
Yeah.
Good sales culture is, okay, we've got all the right people in the right places.
Yeah.
They've got a sales leader whose purpose is to help them sell more, coach them, enable them, talk them through it. Selling is hard, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's quite painful.
Yeah.
And you get a ton of rejection, and you have to have the right mindset, and you've got to go at stuff very systematically.
Yeah.
And you've got to do all the small things very well. And you've got to be relentless about it, and you've got to have someone coaching you so that you can get all those decent habits in, like how to build your leads, how to manage your deals, all that kind of stuff. The sales leader's job is to do that and to protect the sales team from the CEO.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the CEO is a product guy who doesn't really value sales or doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
So protect them from everyone so that they can be free to be in their best possible mental space so that they can sell as much as they can, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then coach them through every single deal, and then make them better and make them better and make them better.
Yeah.
And every time you do a deal that fails, have a look at it as a team and put your hand up and go, where did we make mistakes? Where could we have done better? And where you wouldn't do the same, and then that goes back into the sales playbook.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a business plan that you're upgrading constantly, and teams that do that just become better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And teams that couldn't be bothered to do that are just going to be average forever, right?
I think it's really interesting you say that, because it's that layering of things that change and improve over time, isn't it? It reminds me actually when you were talking there I've seen and heard Clive Woodward speak on numerous occasions about that 2003 England rugby team.
Yeah.
And them having their playbook effectively and adding new bits into it all the time. So it wasn't a static book saying this is how we always do it. It's how can we keep on evolving that. And I think you're absolutely right. This whole piece of creating fear in a sales team is a really dangerous space to be in. It comes from best intentions, I'm sure of it.
It comes from fear for running out of money.
Well, that's it. With error under pressure, and that pressure moves through. And I think so often if you think about what makes someone successful or unsuccessful, you've mentioned it yourself about the confidence of coming into things. When you're in flow in sales, when you're there, it's so mindset driven.
Yeah.
And having the environment that can create that mindset is such an important part of that. We can lose track of that at various different stages. And I think that's why it's so important to come back to it and recognise what you're trying to do and build that team where it's, fun and challenging and everything that comes into it. But that, when that challenge gap and the confidence and skills gap is so far apart, it can be a tricky thing to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, no one's been to sales school, right?
Yeah,
that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just learning on the job.
Yeah.
And if you've got a great sales leader who can coach and mentor you, then you're going to go far. And if you don't, you're going to hang around for years not knowing what to do, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because that's also an important part of it. The sales leader, be that the CRO, the head of sales, or wherever it goes, it's as you say, it's a pivotal role.
Yeah.
Getting the right person there can then attract the A players that you need to come alongside that. If, there's a whole debate about whether A players are actually a necessary thing or not. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another podcast.
Yeah. But the sales leader itself is such. So what does that look like? The people who you work with, or you're thinking, do you know what, that's who I want to march with. Those are the right people in the right seats. What does that look like?
Yeah. So a great sales leader is someone who has humility.
Yeah.
He's always learning.
Yeah.
Doesn't think they know everything. He's very coachable. If I go in and work with a company and I spend time with the sales leader and he's just like loving the growth mindset, and he's taking all I'm teaching him and he's implementing it into his business. So, and he's teaching his team.
Coachability,
He's coachable, his team's coachable, and there's a team mindset and a willingness to admit mistakes and a willingness to put their hand up and say, we don't know what we're doing, we need help, and all that kind of stuff, because every deal is different, and it's like a big problem that you're solving all over again. Every time you do a different deal with a different bank or a different financial services business that you're selling to, it's complex.
Yeah.
These deals are very complex. You can't attack them all exactly the same way. So there's got to be a lot of intelligence there. So you've got to be a student of the game. You've got to be learning. You've got to be coaching your people, helping them to sell. You've got to be getting out in front of clients. You've got to be managing the C-suite so that they don't put fear into the sales team. And then
that's an important. Sorry to jump into there. I think that's a really important part to do it, because there are so many people who we speak to, which I think is one of the most vulnerable positions in
the CRO.
No, actually, the CRO or the sales leader who becomes a internal CRO/sales leader, if you know what I mean.
Correct.
Who are there and they move themselves away from the client. You just talked there about being client facing, and to me, it's a natural sort of process. You've got this sort of inverted pyramid sometimes, where you've got your most senior people moving further away from the customer. And focusing internally, and your most junior people then being out there and being the face of the business. And I think sales leaders who move themselves into those pure management roles are in a dangerous position.
They become stale.
Well, it's not only that they become stale, it's also a very difficult thing to justify at various different stages.
Yeah.
So the best for me are the ones who are out there and able to still be out and have those client relationships and build that side of things and lead from the front.
I totally agree with you. Every business under the sun, as soon as the leaders move away from the shop floor and lose touch with the business, they don't know what's going on. Then the business starts deteriorating.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing you just touched on there was the relationship between the CRO, the CEO. Quite often in these businesses, not from a product or a tech background at the same sort of stage, that can be a dicey relationship, particularly as you've also mentioned when you're talking about investors coming in, be it VCPE, anyone around that sort of Series A, Series B. Basically, the dynamic between those three areas is probably one of the reasons why there is so much loss still made in Series A and Series B businesses, right? And not getting that bit right. So, what do you look for in that sort of dynamic?
So, when you're building a fintech, you've got a bunch of very different people. You need a strong ops person, you need strong technology people, you need a strong CEO, you need a strong sales leader, and they need to trust each other.
Yeah.
And they all need to feel that everyone's pulling their weight and doing the very best they can to get this bull, this huge rock up the hill, the Sisyphean kind of task of building a fintech, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely not for the faint-hearted.
That's for sure.
So there has to be trust there, right? But then there has to be accountability and there has to be performance. And at some stage, if the performance isn't there, then something's got to change.
Yeah.
But it's complicated because is it the product? Mm-hmm. Is it the market?
Yeah.
Is it the sales leader? Is it the sales team?
Yeah.
So that's a very messy thing. When you're in scale-up phase, that's much easier to determine where it is. But if you're in startup phase, that's a bit of a mess.
Yeah. And that's an important thing as well, isn't it? When you think about how easy it is for people to point fingers. At that sort of thing. You know, the natural, if sales are down, the natural point is to look at the sales team and say, what are you doing? But it's not necessarily, as you say, it can be more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the right product or the right market fit or whatever you're talking about like that, you can be as good as you want, but if no one's buying what you're selling, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dynamic.
But so this is the thing that you need to look at. So when I'm working with sales teams and coaching them, when we hire CROs or a strong salesperson, the sales cycle is anywhere between 6 and 24 months. You can't wait 24 months to see if someone's going to be a good salesperson or not.
Yeah.
So I've got a set of 10 very objective criteria that I use.
Okay.
For a salesperson, and we use them for hiring, and we use them to enable them, and we use them to coach them for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And if they get to the end of month 3 and they're not doing those things that I want them to do, I don't care what's in their pipeline. I'm going to recommend that they be going to work somewhere else.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing as well, isn't it, with sales? I don't care what's in their pipeline.
I want to see the activity and the behavior and the cultural kind of connectiveness to my business. And I want to see that, otherwise, it's not going to work.
Which is a brave move, because people quite often get that sort of white line fever, don't they?
Yeah.
Where they see the results and they see, well, this person's killing it.
Oh, they get lucky and
but
get
they've
a few deals, and then their black book runs out, and then they don't sell anything for 3 years
because they haven't got the processes. And I think I've been listening to what you're saying, and I think that sort of concept of a relentless, systematic sales is like this. Has this glamorous sort of background to it.
Yeah.
But when you actually think about it, it's probably one of the most systematic processes of all. And the thing that I've noticed is sometimes maybe 20 years ago, and I think back to when 25 years ago is when I first started looking at this sort of space and speaking to people in this area. And I think it's a very different salesperson to the one now. It's much more about the relationships. It's much more, you didn't have to have deep knowledge and all that sort of stuff. You could go out there and it was a relationship-based role, and you could blag it a little bit more, and it was a different sort of thing. Now, the level of knowledge and detail and system and process that comes around that, the people who are outstanding performers aren't necessarily the same people and characters as you had before. It's much,
absolutely.
It can be actually quite an introverted role at various different stages.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched a really interesting point here. In the past, people were hiring charismatic sales leaders and salespeople, but nowadays I see the awkward, kind of almost introverted, very organized salespeople. The ones that are a little bit awkward and strange to get on with. Those people with the right mindset, they absolutely kill it in enterprise deals. And
the right mindset is, again, a critical part of that.
And the mindset is about something called extreme ownership. Right? If you get a salesperson in, the book is amazing. But if you get a salesperson in and they are owning learning about the product, because they're in a new company, they have to know everything they possibly can about the product. They're owning learning about their company and what their company's strengths and weaknesses. They're owning learning about the competition. They're owning learning about how to sell. They're owning learning about how to fit in with the rest of the team and who to bring on the journey with them to do the deal. If I see all of that, then I'm happy. But if I'm in a meeting with a salesperson and they're like, I couldn't do that meeting last week because the marketing guys didn't see me send me that PDF.
Kicking down the road.
I'm cancelling my meeting with JP Morgan next week because the tech guys haven't given me that architecture diagram. If I see that kind of stuff, then the red flag comes up, and then I'm not interested. I'm looking for other stuff to say, because that's a weak mindset, right? Go to the tech guy and stand next to his desk for hours until he gives you that architecture drawing. Go to the marketing team, make your own PDF, right?
It's urgency, isn't it? I think that's a really important part of it. That you want people to be wanting to make things happen, rather than sort of just run through it. That sort of. Again, I use the word relentlessness is such important. But intensity is both of those have got negative connotations, I think, these days.
But you have to be dissatisfied. You have to be constantly unhappy with the status quo of your deal, or you can't go, my deal's fine. It's not. Until it's closed and paid, it's not fine. There's more homework to do.
Healthy paranoia we talk about all the time. You've also touched on this, and I think it's fundamental. It's obviously my favourite subject, which is the hiring area. Sales hiring is never easy. Sales hiring in B2B enterprise sales, perhaps even more so.
And the failure rates are huge, right?
It's huge, and it's there's people there who've got these nomadic careers of moving from one place to another, and stealing themselves increased salaries all the time, who make a sport of interviewing well. And look, we're there. We want, it's when we're hiring salespeople,
because they get a lot of practice.
But when we're sat there as salespeople, we want to invest. We're invested in those people. We want the solutions. We want to believe the hype. So it makes it actually quite difficult to interview for. I think the other thing we have is the bias of the CV as opposed to the individual. So, there's a difference in, as we've said before, in selling for a massive enterprise vendor to a startup.
Very different.
But people look at that and say, "Oh, I'm going to guess what? We've just hired someone from."
X company, and they did like a $10 million deal there.
Exactly, and that's what they're going to come and do for us.
Yeah.
And again, you think about it, and you get hyped up and think, right, immediately the pound signs come off about what you can do with that person. They've dealt with that, and they've also got those relationships. But I much prefer it when people go into the detail of what have you done, how have you done it, where have you gone for, and look for, the road less traveled. We'd had a conversation recently about what actually someone wants in a company being different from what actually they said they wanted or thought they wanted at that sort of stage. So I think this is fascinating, and I think you're really well placed to talk about this as well. So talk to me about the concept of sales hiring.
So everyone hires by looking at a CV and interviewing someone, and then they project their desire, because you want to hire a great salesperson. Exactly. It's very important, right? So I'm interviewing you for a sales role, and I want you to be successful, because if you are, it's going to transform my business, right? So there's this projection.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll have a conversation with you, and you'll tell me a bunch of stuff, and the stuff that doesn't land so much, I psychologically discount, and the stuff that does land, I'm like, oh yeah, Toby did that, I need him to do that for me.
Yeah.
So you like anchor onto a certain bunch of stuff. Yeah. So that's the wrong way to interview. Interviewing to someone's CV and their experience.
Yeah.
You write your sales playbook, and then you write a spec, like a half-page spec. This is the kind of salesperson that'll be awesome at selling our stuff. And then you interview them around that spec, not around their CV or their experience or what they've done. It's specifically around your spec for what they're going to do for you. And then you look for that. And if you tick all those boxes, then you get 2 or 3 people in the company, different kind of bit of diversity to interview them.
Yeah.
And, like sometimes if everyone goes, yeah, that's amazing, let's hire that person, sometimes that's a bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
You've got to have like a bit of doubt, and there's got to be a healthy debate about it. And then, despite all of that good stuff, and despite all my experience with hiring salespeople, we still get it wrong. Because people interview extremely well, and they might have been brilliant in their previous job, and now something's going on in their personal life, or this product market fit thing doesn't fit their sales strategy, or however they work, and it just doesn't work. Or they kind of lose motivation.
That's a really interesting piece, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad in that company because they've had the wrong sort of play. They've gone into a place that doesn't suit their personality, the conflict's wrong, external things are happening, and they go out and they go into a different company and they absolutely fly.
Yeah.
It's something that I thought about. I spent 8.5 years in the first company I worked for in recruitment, and there were people there who were at the bottom of the board, and it was a very, very alpha culture in that sort of stage. And these people were good people, but just completely unsuited, and they couldn't buy a deal over there. And I saw them leave and do really well in other organisations.
Yes.
And that made me really think about the fact that one person here isn't because they're from that company doesn't make them great, and one person there because they haven't done very well in that company doesn't make them terrible.
Yeah.
So it's a really complicated thing when you think about this and how you look at it.
It is.
And I think it's got to be, as you say, systematic. Really think about what you're looking for. Really think about what skill sets you need, and ask them about where they can showcase that. So that that sort of stuff in a similar environment, as opposed to from there, or why they want to do that, or why they want to learn. And coming back to that coachability piece. Yeah, that's a really important part to test in these interviews as well.
Exactly. I mean, like, one of the things that I do with people a lot is what stage is your business? When you bring a salesperson into this business, are they going to need to bring some of their own relationships, or do you have a machine to give them leads so that they can go and sell?
Yeah.
So if you're going to bring someone into your business who's a very good salesperson, but they don't have any relationships and they don't know how to get leads and put them in the pipe, and you don't have a plan for marketing or whatever to give them leads,
you've got a problem.
Then you've got a problem. You've just created a problem. You've brought someone in, they're not going to sell. It doesn't matter how good they are, because they can't get leads and they don't have anything in the pipe.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to build that engine, or you've got to go, actually, let's get someone a bit more expensive who does have some relationships. We get some deals done, and we'll get them to sell in our way.
Yeah.
And we'll get them to kind of get some business going, right?
Yeah, and making sure that they want to sell in your way as well.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it. There can be a lot of people who are very, you used the word humble earlier on. There's a lot of arrogance in sales.
Yes.
And people saying, look, this is the way I've always done it. I've been successful because of this. I don't want to adapt to that. And I think that's an important part, again, of what you want to do.
I'm laughing because I had this conversation. I'm coaching a guy, a very senior sales guy, and he's been in sales for years. He must be in his late 50s. And I was trying to teach him how to do a Medic Lite, which is a deal review using Medic, where you describe the problem, then you find the champion, you qualify the champion, you get some value metrics for the deal, and then you figure out how to get to the economic buyer. So I'm trying to coach him how to do this deal review, and he says to me, you know what, James, I've done a ton of deals in my life. I've had like hundreds of people working for me. I'm not really interested in learning any sales tricks or anything. I'm like, okay, so you're in a business that's trying to scale massively, and we need you as one of the senior salespeople to get with the program so we can teach other people how to sell, because you're a relationship-based sales guy, and we're trying to scale a team of non-relationship salespeople. And he said, actually, I'm not really interested in teaching anyone else to sell either. And I'm like, okay.
This is making your job easy, right?
But he's doing big deals, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do as a business? What do you do? You've got a person there who's doing big deals, but it's messing with the sales culture.
Yeah.
And the other people in the team aren't getting deals done, and it's a hard call, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen that before.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it resonates all the way through, and it's I think one of the most difficult things when you're running a sales team is to look at how often is it the top performer, the top salesperson, is someone who doesn't necessarily do it
doesn't even update Salesforce.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll sell, but they're good. They don't do the admin part, but they're great at this sort of thing. And it's a difficult place to play.
Yeah.
It requires real standards and real discipline, and it comes back to that element of culture. So bringing that person on board and taking them on the journey, I think, is a really important thing. It is a tricky piece, hiring and sales, but I think it comes down to actually doing it as you would any investment. I think people are far more put far more due diligence to bringing in a software product, for example, than they are about hiring people into the business who are going to be selling the outward face of their business. And I think it comes from that preparation beforehand about really understanding what you want, where they want for, removing the thought process, testing the thought process of what people come from and how they're going to adapt to it, and not just hiring for the name on the CV. But hiring for that individual and what they're actually looking for. So, I mean, that's a whole show in itself.
Yeah, I mean, so what you said earlier was interesting. So you're going out to hire, and you put a job ad up. Who's applying for the job ads? A bunch of salespeople who don't have jobs. Or a bunch of salespeople who know they're going to get fired because they're not selling. So that's 90% of the industry get. If you want to find really brilliant salespeople, you've got to go and find salespeople that are somewhere and they're quite happy and they've got a pipeline of deals coming through. You might have to pay to get them out of that pipeline.
Exactly right.
Right. If you really want to get some elite players, they're not going to come running to you because you chuck something up on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Well, that said, if you're rather than chucking something up, you want to make your company. And this is where I think the whole employer brand is important.
That's very important.
This is where I think the whole marketing thing is people want to. There's a desire for the best people to understand who the players are in their industry, and you want to become that sort of magnet for talent. You want to become that business that people are looking for and saying, how do I get into that club? And again, it's about showcasing that. I think people don't think about what their proposition is when they are selling the company to salespeople. And if I'm a salesperson, what am I looking for is a great place to work. You mentioned it before: a strong sales culture, strong leadership. A CEO, but
leaders who know where they're going.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But also, you're looking for a product which is sellable. And you're looking for a patch which has got demand for it. And if you can really articulate that and you put that messaging out there, I think the people, the best people in the industry will look at it, take note, and say, actually, I want to be part of that.
Absolutely.
And it's about first, and look, there will be people who are out of work at the moment who are great for that particular role.
Yes.
But conversely, you always want to make sure that you're there and looking for the people, the best in class for it. And it comes down to that debate. We won't go into it today, but that whole thing of it saying, right, do you need a team of A players? Or do you need people who are the right people at the right sort of phase? And there's foot soldiers in every organisation.
Not the A place.
A whole bunch of divas is a different problem altogether.
Yeah, and like when you're interviewing salespeople, if I was going to go for a sales role, now imagine you had a fintech and you're interviewing me. Right? I'd be interviewing you as well.
Yeah, of course.
What's your sales cycle?
Yeah.
What did you do revenue-wise? Like, how have you grown? We went from 2 million to 4 million to 8 to 16. Jesus, that's fucking interesting, right? Can I speak to some of your clients? What do you mean? Can I see a client that's bought your stuff and how happy they are? As a salesperson asking the CEO that.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a valid question, right? Why would you want to go and work somewhere where the clients are unhappy and not enjoying the software, right?
And I'll tell you what's interesting about how some CEOs feel about that as well. But then they suddenly take that as an affront. And they don't then go through it and they'll turn themselves off that person because it's like, and I think it's exactly the wrong way of looking at it. People there when you're in the process. I can think of something that's going on at the moment out on the floor where there's a salesperson who's had a terrible process post-offer. and it's coming back and challenging some areas of the package and which is absolutely valid. But it's almost like an affront to the people who say, well, they either want it or they don't. It's like, no, you've got to look at this and say, if you want the very best people who are going to move your business further forward,
they're not just going to roll over.
Make sure it's there, and you've got to make sure they're challenging and answering those questions, and roll out that carpet to make sure that they're there, because they're all got options. The best people are always going to have options. But I could talk about that for a long time.
Makes your job easier.
Let's wrap this a little bit by talking about building an elite sales team. And I know that you talk a lot about value-based sales, and you've gone through the sort of how that came to be for you. But if you're sat there and giving a bit of advice for building an elite sales team in this space, what are some of the things that you pass out? What's some pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to what I said earlier. You need to write a sales playbook for your business. It says who we're selling, what we're selling, how we sell, and what does success look like. Yeah. You need a qualification methodology like MEDDIC. Yeah. You need the sales culture in there. And then you need to relentlessly work with your sales team on getting more and more and more deals done. Yeah. And that begets success, right? And it just gets more and more. And when something's working, double down on it. It's about placing lots of little bets. Even hiring someone who's placing a bet. Yeah. And when you place a bet, you watch that bet. It's like you're buying a stock on IG Index or something, you watch that. And if it goes up, you sell when it's right. And if it goes down, you trade out, right? Yeah. And if it's going down, you need to trade out quickly. You don't want to wait until it's all gone. Yeah. And then you have that sort of sunk cost fallacy around that. Exactly. Don't you, sometimes, So just give it a little bit more. It just needs the deal. It's that close, etc. And you end up having another 3 months before you've made a decision on it all. And that kills you. So if you look at the math, imagine you're hiring a salesperson, right? 100 grand, 30 grand recruiter fee, right? Now, your sales cycle is 12 to 24 months. Your deal sizes are like 100K. Imagine it's 100K. Yeah. You've got 6 months of enablement, 3 to 6 months of enablement before the salesperson is ready to sell. Yeah. And then another 12 to 24 months before they do their first deal. Yeah. Right? If that person fails and you wait 2 years, imagine they've got to do 4 deals a year. Yeah. That's 400K revenue. Yeah. They do 0 in year 1, 0 in year 2. That's 800K in revenue. Yeah. Plus the 100 grand salary, plus that's $1 million, right? Yeah. £1 million pounds that you've wasted. But people don't measure the opportunity cost. They just look at the salary and the recruiter fee. Yeah. But the opportunity cost is infinitely larger. Of course. So if it's not working, you have to call it early. Yeah. And you have to have objective criteria that if that person isn't doing X, Y, and Z, we know they're not going to be successful, because according to our playbook, these are the activities and behaviours we need to see. Yeah, and I think the other side to that is also recognising what your part in that is. Quite often, I think people hire salespeople and say, right, I've got the person, there you go, let's wait for it to happen. It sounds crazy, but it happens, right? It's like, there you go, I've done my part. I've hired someone else, I'm going to go and sell.
Let's watch and prod it until it actually does something. But it's, as you say, having that sort of infrastructure in there to allow people to be successful, and not just say, right, let's wait until they succeed or fail. Yeah. Let's do everything we possibly can to make that investment, nurture that investment, make that person as good as they can possibly be, put the right coaching, the right structure, the marketing, the right everything around it to make that person successful. And those companies who really think about that, who really invest in that, who aren't just sat there saying, right, we've done it, our part. That to me is where real success comes from.
You're absolutely right. So I just want to finish off on a concept that is pretty strong and interesting. Sure. It's called customer centricity, right? And everyone wants to make their customers happy, but you've got to know who the customer is. And there's 2 customers in every business. It's the customer that's sitting inside your business that is facing off to your customer that's outside your business. Yeah. So the whole company's purpose is to please both those customers, because if your whole business is built around making your sales team as enabled as possible and giving them everything they possibly need to sell and making them happy and full of energy, then they'll be able to look after your external customers. Yeah. But if you've got a culture that's beating your sales team and treating them badly and not enabling them, how do you think they're going to look after your customers? How do you think your deals are going to get done? So customer centricity, there's books written on it. There's a FinTech book called The Customer Catalyst that I recommend people read. Yeah. And it was even I think it was in JP Morgan's strategy paper like 2 years ago that was their new focus. One of the key strategic pillars that they were going to do.
I'll make it
customer centricity, but knowing that there's the 2 customers, the internal and the external.
Yeah, fantastic. I absolutely agree with you. There's an old, I heard this a long time ago, and it was when I was speaking to a sports psychologist, and he was talking about some of the teams that he worked with, and he mentioned this, I think it was the US swimming team, and when you went into their pool, along the wall was the purpose of this organisation is to create an environment where success is inevitable.
Yes.
And I think that slogan,
it's beautiful,
works perfectly for, you know. So I always say that my job in Harrington Star is to create the environment where everyone can do their best work. So create an environment where success is inevitable. And it's exactly what you're saying. There's no point bringing people in and setting them up to fail.
Yeah.
It has to be really thought about how you want to give them the opportunity to move further forward. James, I could be talking about this for days and days.
Good to see you, Toby.
For coming in. And thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Nice
We will
to meet
see
you,
you
Ross.
soon on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks.
Brilliant.